Hey guys, welcome to In the Pocket podcast. I'm Xander Cook, joined alongside Max Sturm and Logan Martin. Boys, what a week of football. I mean, we got a ton of upsets in there. We had some awesome performances by a few players, and it's starting to look like after this week, we have a few clear-cut Super Bowl contenders after these football games, in my opinion, at least.
Sure, 100%. 100%. This was a very telling week in my eyes.
Yep, I agree with you. It was a very telling week. I already know my three or four Super Bowl contenders after this weekend. Really, I don't think outside of these four, I don't think there's another team that can win it all.
Now, let's be entirely clear. We are only we're not even done with week 10 yet. So you still got uh 8 weeks of football to go and things can change so much. But um yeah, I think you're starting to see the clear-cut contenders really start to blossom, especially as many of their schedules start to get tougher.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so we're gonna kick it off with a little bit of a recap. We're just featuring four games this week. We could stretch that even longer, but there's four games that we want to cover this week. Starting off, we're gonna head into Mile High for the recent Thursday night football matchup. So the 8-2 Broncos, elite defense, atrocious offense, fraud watch, or just gritty?
Yeah, this is really tough because, and I think it might have been you who said it in the text earlier, but it's so reminiscent of that 2015 Denver Broncos team where they had an elite defense, better than it is right now to in my eyes. And their offense was just not very good at all. Of course, you had Peyton Manning behind the line behind center, but he was done with his career at that point. He was throwing like 5 yards down the field and he was past his prime for sure. The
Mm-hmm.
difference here is now you've got a young quarterback who had a very promising rookie year, and I was the one to say it, and I think I was wrong to say I completely give up on the guy because I don't. I feel like you can't do that until, especially with some of the recent players we've seen like Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. You can't just give up on a player before the 3 or 4 year mark.
Yeah.
And maybe even after that in the cases of those guys. But it is concerning the way that Bo Nix has played, especially against the Jets this past week, where he goes 19 of 30, which isn't a terrible completion percentage, but it's not great, especially against that Jets defense that just lost Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. So the pressure's not as high and the coverage isn't as good. You think you'd complete maybe a little bit higher percentage there. Um, and they didn't even rush the ball all that more than they threw. J.K. Dobbins had 14 carries of 40 yards, and Bo Nix threw for 174, so he didn't hit that 200 mark. He had the touchdown, but I just think that he really hasn't been um, living up to what we saw in his rookie year and the potential that we have. And we've talked about their issues as far as the offensive side of the ball goes with having Cortland Sutton and like the occasional Troy Franklin 50-yard catch. But outside of that, they really do struggle on the offensive end. Evan Ingram was their leading receiver in this game, and he had 42 yards. So he didn't even hit the 50 mark. Marvin Mims was behind him. He only had two catches for 30 yards. So I this offense as a whole is pretty scary to me. Like you beat the New York Jets by 2 points. That's a little bit concerning to me as far as the offense goes. Luckily, your defense is top of the league right now, and so you can ask them to bail you out in games like this where you're just not clicking on offense. But you want to talk about a team that we're gonna. Sorry, it wasn't the Jets. Where am I looking at? The Raiders. You beat the Raiders by 3 points. Um, so I was looking at the complete wrong game. I don't know why this showed up that way. I didn't even get to watch the Thursday night game.
Same situation though.
Yeah, same situation. And he threw two interceptions. He threw two interceptions. He went 16 of 28 for 150, one touchdown, two interceptions. And J.K. Dobbins had 77 yards on the ground. And Pat Bryant was the leading receiver on one catch. So the story doesn't change. They are a struggling offense. And when you're 8-2, it looks good on paper. But once you get down into the postseason, you're not facing teams like the Raiders anymore.
Mhm.
You're gonna have a real tough time in the postseason against the better teams.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, just looking at it from this season, you only scored 20 against the Titans, 20 against the Chargers, they have a solid defense, so give them some credit there. They scored 18 of their 21 points in the fourth quarter against Philly, 13 against the Jets, all 33 of their points in the fourth quarter against the Giants, 44 against a really, really bad Cowboys team, 18 against the Texans, and now only 10 points against the Raiders. So there's a lot of concern surrounding this offense, a lot of holes, a lot of questions. But that defense, man, I mean, they're third in the league in total yards allowed. They're sixth in passing yards allowed. They're top five in rushing yards allowed, and they're the third scoring defense in the league. So we're seeing a lot of similarities between that 2015 team and this 2025 team, where the offense isn't clicking. You never know when they're ever going to click each game, but that defense is firing on all cylinders every single game. I mean, the stats back it up themselves. This is a really, really good defense, and it's on track to be one of the best. And I say that because they have over 50 sacks this season. They are on track to demolish the sack record for a single season.
Logan, you got anything? Yeah, I think another thing to note about this defense is they are without their best player right now, and they're still putting up the numbers that they are. Um, and I think you got to talk about Nick Benito being the top guy as well. But Pat Surtain is reigning defensive player of the year. He's not in the game, and you're still producing the way that you are. So I have no problems with the Broncos defense. You should hold the Raiders to 7 points. Um, the real issue here is the offense, and I don't think that that's an offense that, despite having the defense that's going to get you the ball back, that can lead you past the wild card of this upcoming postseason.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders should have won this game though. They missed a field goal, had a block punt, and had a touchdown that got called back by a penalty. Not to mention they had 9 penalties. Yeah, so Las Vegas really threw this game away.
Yeah, I think if sorry, Logan, I think if you're talking about the Raiders, it's important to bring up a conversation that has been circulating through the insiders in league representatives apparently on the inside, and that's that one, Geno Smith will be gone at the end of this year. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. But two, that Pete Carroll might be out as head coach after this year as well.
It'll be either Pete Carroll, it'll be Chip Kelly, it'll be one or the other.
Mm-hmm. So the argument here is, are the Broncos on fraud watch, or are they just a gritty football team? Because
No,
the
the,
offense
the,
hasn't been clicking, but they're getting these wins.
they're just playing to the level of their competition so far, bro. Like they play Indy tight, lose on a fucking leverage call. They should have won that game. Lost by 3 to the Chargers. Chargers won that game. Let's give them that. They beat the Bengals pretty handily. Came back against the Eagles. Played the Giants tough to defense. It's like they're just literally playing to the team that their opponent's competition. So I guarantee they'll play Kansas City tough next week.
Yeah, and I think I don't want to call them frauds because I don't think I would label them as that. But I don't think that they're true playoff contenders. Imagine they face the Chargers or Kansas City or Buffalo or New England in that first round if New England somehow drops the opening round or the Broncos or if New England somehow drops the AFC East.
I would
Well,
hate to play the Broncos. I would
yeah.
hate to play the Broncos.
Just imagine though your defense is going to have to bail you out a lot against those teams. And we're not even talking about the Chiefs making the playoffs right now, but it's fucking Patrick Mahomes, dude. Like there's a chance that he's going to make it back into the playoffs. And even the Ravens. Like if the Ravens make it too and that's your wild card matchup or your divisional, whatever it may be. I have no idea. The Ravens still could win the North.
Mm.
And that could be a wild card matchup.
This will be one of the years where it's one of the most interesting storylines to end the year is the battle for that last spot in the playoffs.
Well, I think that the AFC playoffs is totally up in the air still. All the seeds are totally up in the air. You could have the Colts finish as number one. You could have the Patriots finish as number one. God forbid, or God willing, in my case, but the Bills could be the number one seed. I don't think that they will be, but any team right now can be the number one seed. And so the way things shape out, home field advantage is going to be huge. For me, the Broncos, they will bring their A game in the playoffs defensively, but their offense is not going. I don't see them competing with guys like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, or Josh Allen, or even Justin Herbert.
You guys got anything else to say?
No, I think that's good for that game.
So moving on, I am interested to hear some thoughts here. We're going down to South Beach. The Bills collapse in Miami. Should they be worried? Achane explodes for 174 rushing yards, and in that game, the Bills' offense just looked completely lifeless against one of the worst defenses in the league.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man, this was a tough watch. This was a really tough watch. From the opening possession was the only thing that went right for the Bills all day. And that was that Tua Tagovailoa on 3rd down and 15 basically threw an arm punt to Cole Bishop, who, by the way, is having a great last few weeks. There are players on that defense that, regardless of the outcome, have really shown a lot of potential. And you have uh, key guys in Joey Bosa, Cole Bishop, and also Maxwell Harrison, who got his 2nd pick in a row this past Sunday. But the defense is not what concerned me the most in this game. Obviously, you gave up the rushing yards, but they were playing a much more aggressive style of defense in the later portion of that game. But they weren't prioritizing the run for whatever reason, and so Devon Achane gets 2 long touchdowns, and that kind of skews the pass or the rushing yards for him. The main concern for the Bills here is the offense, and I never thought I would say that. Josh Allen did throw for 306 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had an interception in the red zone, in the end zone. That was just disgusting. He had that fumble on the 4th down play where all you had to do was get a yard and you're still in this game. And he keeps his feet turning, and Bills fans would get hyped for that to get extra yards, but he fumbles the ball away. And then James Cook also had a fumble. We just could not get anything to happen on offense all day outside of that Keon Coleman touchdown that also was, in my eyes, just garbage time to me. This team has a need for a number one receiver. And the fact that Brandon Beane got on the phone with the Miami Dolphins, a divisional rival who you play the next week, and offered a 1st-round pick in 2027 and a 3rd-rounder next year for Jalen Waddle. And Miami's response was, no, we want a 1st round in 2026. And you said no? That's wild to me. We're in a position right now where Josh Allen is in year 8, and now you've got to start thinking either we're going to be a wild card team this year, or depending on how things go, you're not even in the playoffs. Josh Allen's going to be in year 9 next year. When the hell are you going to help this dude out? When are you going to give him somebody that can catch the football and get separation? There is an average of 1.9 yards of separation for wide receivers and pass catchers on this team, and it's greatly skewed by the fact that Dawson Knox gets 3.5 yards separation on his routes. So it's really lower than that. When Josh Allen can be your Superman, but he won't be able to throw the cape on if nobody can get open. We saw him scramble on 3rd and 15 or 16 and run around for like 80 yards behind the line of scrimmage just to throw a 21-yard pass. He can't do that every single game, and they're letting him down. But on the other side of that, Josh Allen also hasn't looked great this season, and he hasn't had the help, but he just looks so uncomfortable this year. And I think it has to do with the play calling. I think it has to do with the receivers, and I think it has to do with the head coaching.
Well, I think part of the reason why he hasn't looked good this year is because in years past we've seen, the defense shit the bed and Josh Allen able to put the cape on his back and just pull the offense together. And, next thing you know, the offense is unstoppable. And you're looking around the guys that are surrounding Josh Allen, you're like, how the hell are they unstoppable with these weapons? And, finally caught up to him this year. And, we're seeing Josh Allen not able to put that cape on his back because defense is finally caught up to figure out how to stop him. Just contain him. Don't penetrate at the line of scrimmage. Just stay at the line of scrimmage and wait for him to scramble and just keep him out. Keep him
And when there's no
scrambling
wide
around.
receiver separation, it makes it really
Right.
tough. You see him roll out to the right still. He still gets that ability to extend the play. But your number one target right now is Dalton Kincaid, who gets a little bit more separation than other guys, but it's still not a lot. And then your number one receiver is Khalil Shakir, who this goes back to play calling. He can get separation, but you're throwing to him behind the line 9 times out of 10 for a screenplay. You're not using him the correct way. And then outside of that, you've got Elijah Moore and Curtis Samuel. They're your next guys up. No, it just doesn't make sense to me why we wouldn't go out and trade for a wide receiver, why you wouldn't try and make this team better coming down the stretch after you saw what teams have been able to do against you defensively and game planning. I just think that Buffalo is going to have a hard time competing in the AFC, and in my eyes, they've lost the AFC East already. So you're fighting for a wild card spot where you might get matched up against Baltimore, you might get matched up against Indianapolis, you might get matched up against New England, who they've already lost to this year. I just think that it's a really rough road ahead for Buffalo, considering their schedule coming up too.
Exactly, and that's what I was just about to point out. In my opinion, I think absolutely the Bills should be worried. You're 6-3 now. You're 2 games behind New England in the division. You just get blown out by Miami, and that's Miami's biggest win over Buffalo since the 2011 season. Mind you, just days after they fired their general manager. Now they're playing like their season is on the line for God knows why, but Achane explodes. The Bills' rush defense is just not good. The offense isn't clicking right now. Now you have to play the Buccaneers at 1 o'clock this upcoming Sunday. Then it's a Thursday night game against Houston, 4:25 game in Pittsburgh, 4:25 game against the Bengals, and Joe Burrow is probably going to be playing that game. Then you're heading into New England, into Cleveland against the Eagles, and then end the season versus the Jets. That's a tough upcoming schedule, and it's not looking bright for the Bills to overtake New England considering New England's schedule. So, if anyone has nothing else to say, we're going to move on to we're going to stick in Florida. Drake frickin' May outduels Baker Mayfield, and the Patriots just proved that they're for real at 8-2. Logan, what do you think?
I mean, I didn't know what to think going into this game. I was kind of just hoping the Patriots will pull something together, but um, I think this proves Patriots are legit. This is the game that Patriots fans really needed to see. We needed to see this team go on the road. Yeah, we were 4-0 going into it on the road, but we needed to get to 5-0. This was the game. This was the test. A team with a similar record, a team that's been battling injury. So as much as we were underdogs as a fan and someone who really watches the team, and we do an analysis on every single football team, so like you got to pay close attention. We should win this is a game we should have won. I know we're underdogs, but this is a game for the taking, and we went in there and we handled business. I mean, we handled the game, it seemed like, from start to finish. It probably wasn't like that, but definitely, like, watching that back, it was like from start to finish. Long story short, it seemed like we just handled business. So proud to see the guys going to handle it. Drake May, 270 passing yards. I like to see him use his feet a little bit more, early in the game, but he played well. And Trayvon Henderson had to put they had to put the running game in his hands. And later in the game, we really see his potential. That long run touchdown kind of seemed like the nail in the coffin, even though it was a little too early. But the Patriots in all facets of the game look great. I was really proud of how they played.
Yeah. In my eyes, this is one of those 4 teams that are Super Bowl contenders, man. They are totally, totally legit. After that Bills win, I was like, they've got a lot going their way. I got to see Drake May string a few games together where he looks the same, and he's gone far and above my expectations for that. despite not having a real true number one wide receiver, you could say Stephon Diggs, but he has 2 touchdowns this year. Despite all that, he's still playing out of his freaking mind, man. Travion Henderson obviously has his breakout day, 147 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground, including that game sealing score at the end of the game where he just took off, got outside, broke contain and got out. How about Mac freaking Hollins, dude? Mac Hollins with 106 yards receiving. I love that guy. I wish Buffalo never got rid of him. He'd be the number one wide receiver on Buffalo right now, in my
Well,
eyes.
he's someone that like I see out there on the field, and I'm thinking about the wide receiver room, like all the guys that are in this receiver room, even the young guys, like how is he out there? But the way he plays, the way he's just a big body threat, he's very valuable.
Yeah, and I think when you talk about MVP right now, there's 2 names that come, at least to me, in Xander's mind right now. And Logan, I'm sure it's the same for you because we talked about it. Drake May, Matthew Stafford. Those are the 2 guys at the top. And you could also throw Jonathan Taylor in there. JT, it absolutely makes a case. Um, I just think that right now the Patriots are the most well-rounded team in the league right now, with an offense that can outscore any defense right now, and a defense that comes prepared against any team. Baker Mayfield was in the top of that MVP conversation not too long ago. He suffers these 2 losses and suddenly he's out of it. And Mike Vrabel, defensive-minded head coach, comes with a great game plan to not only contain him but to limit his passing. And we did see him throw for 273 and 3 touchdowns in that one, but he just didn't look like the Baker Mayfield that we saw through the first 5 weeks of this season. I don't know what your guys
Yeah.
thoughts are. I was watching the Bills game during this, so I didn't get to watch the whole thing. But outside of that opening drive, it just looked very inconsistent offensively for the Buccaneers.
Uh, I do agree with what you're saying. Like we're a Super Bowl contending team, but the one thing that concerns me, and we've seen a lot in the NFL this year, we've seen it like, for instance, like the Tennessee Titans against the Chargers with the pick six, the Patriots with the fumble issue against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like there's so many examples in the NFL this year of turnovers that just flip and just drastically flip the momentum of the game from one team to another. And when we're talking about teams, not just necessarily in the spread, but just winning the game overall, turnovers are so crucial in the NFL. And that's what worries me about the Patriots. When we face a good defense, when we face a good team, and May's in the pocket for 5 or 6 seconds when he should have got the ball rid of the ball, and now he's panicking. Um, then he fumbles it. That's the kind of stuff that scares me. We're a young football team, but I feel like we have the guys to pull it together. We have probably the best young group of guys in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots are a legit NFL team. They're 8-2, 2 games leading the AFC East division. You just beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road. Now you're 5-0 on the road this season. And they're just going into every single matchup with a shit ton of swagger. They're going in like they own that place, whether it's on the road, whether it's at home. And Drake May is balling, dude. He's in year number 2. He had an up and down rookie season. Now all of a sudden he's playing like a 10-year vet. He has one of the prettiest deep balls in the league, sort of like a Russell Wilson-esque deep ball. And you can almost guarantee as soon as he slings that thing, it's gonna be complete. It's gonna be right on the money. It's actually ridiculous, and I hate it because this should not have happened this soon. Patriots go into a rebuilding year, go into a little bit of a rebuilding phase post Tom Brady. Now all of a sudden you found your franchise quarterback after a few seasons, and you're back to being Super Bowl contenders. It's bullshit. I hate it.
Yeah,
But
me too. Logan freaking cheesing over there, smiling at you saying that about Drake May. I fucking
dude,
hate.
Don't you ever compare Drake May to Russell Wilson ever again.
the deep ball. That's what
Wait,
I
hold
said.
on, Logan. I want you to elaborate on that.
Yeah, I was about to say because I mentioned their deep ball. Russell Wilson has the prettiest moonshot in the league.
Are you saying
No,
Drake
man. No,
May's
there's
better
levels to this
playing
shit.
better
No.
than Russell Wilson ever did?
Oh, 100%. This season is better than any season we've seen out of Russell Wilson. So far,
Okay.
out of 9 games,
Bullshit. Shut
if he
up,
could,
dude.
if
Shut
he
up.
continues what he's done through 10, if he continues what he's done through 10 weeks, you can't tell me he hasn't had a better season than Russell Wilson ever did. First of all. Second of all, the ball, the only thing I disagree with that is like Drake May, there's levels. And I mean that literally and figuratively. Drake May, what his perk of throwing the football is he can put the ball in levels. He can throw it intermediate, short, deep, and he can just put a loft on the ball to where it fits in the areas. Russell Wilson just checks and sees this man coverage. He sees man coverage and says, "Yep, fuck it, I'm throwing a fucking moon ball." So don't ever
Yeah, and
compare.
in the early in the
to
before 2018, that ball was completed like 80% of the time. Didn't matter if the person was open. He put that ball on the money
Hey,
every time, dude.
I would take Doug Baldwin over any of the receivers the Patriots have right now.
All right,
I'm
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 just
not
I'm just gonna
arguing
point this
receivers.
out.
I'm saying it honestly to say that Russell Wilson has had has not had a better year than what Drake May is on pace for is a little bit insane to me. I'm not gonna
Russell
lie.
Wilson, I guarantee if I went back through the stats,
Yeah, I
through
got the
10 week
stats
has
pulled up right
never
here.
Thank you,
had.
because I
Russell
was going to
Wilson,
look them up
hold
right
on.
now.
Through 10 weeks. Through 10 weeks.
Russell Wilson, 2015, 4,000 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, 8 picks. That's better than what Drake May is on track for. Russell Wilson, 2019, 4,100 yards, 31 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Already better than what Drake May has done this season. The year
Oh,
after, COVID year, 4,200 yards, 40 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. The
incorrect.
interceptions were a concern, but still 40 passing
Dude,
touchdowns.
what year did you say? 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a 105 quarterback rating. Russell Wilson was that guy's Logan. Drake May
Bro,
has the potential to be better, but to say that Drake May's season is on pace to be better than anything Russell Wilson ever had is kind of crazy to
it
me.
is. It is.
I'm
It
just
is.
saying, Russell Wilson's best year was probably that 31-5 touchdown to interception ratio season. May already has 5 interceptions.
And I bet Drake May finishes with more than 31 touchdowns.
And
What's
then
he
I
at
bet
right
you
now?
he finishes with more than
He's at
five.
19, bro. He's at 19
He's
through
already
10
had
games.
5 interceptions too.
Yeah?
I'm just saying that Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't think this Drake May season is better than any better than Russell's prime season hit or Russell's best season. Give it another year or two. I think Drake May will evidently have a season that's better than Russell Wilson's best season, but it's
Sure.
not this season.
All right, we
I'm
got a
asking
little
ChatGPT.
what's next?
We're gonna go into California. Matthew Stafford, age
Matthew
37,
freaking Stafford, man.
torches the 49ers defense led by Robert Saleh, torches their defense, and continues his MVP case. Stafford in the game, 24 of 36, 280 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's now 3 straight games where Stafford has thrown 4 or more touchdowns with 0 interceptions. The only players ahead of him for longest streak are Hall of Famers Peyton Manning and Dan Marino. Stafford was spreading the wealth as well. Devontae Adams, 6 for 77 and a tutty. Nakua, 5 for 64 and a tutty. Parkinson, 4 for 41 and a tutty. And then you also got Davis Allen in there with 2 catches, 8 yards, and a tutty. So Stafford is finding every single receiver at will this season. He's got 25 touchdowns to only 2 interceptions. Boys, in my opinion, this is my number 1 MVP.
Yeah, and you are not wrong for thinking that. I think Logan, we'll get to you. I don't want to see that face, bro. Matthew Stafford. Let's take a look at Matt Stafford's stats for this season as a whole. He's already got 2,400 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 114.8 rating. He is insane this year. I don't care what Drake May has done. I don't care what any other guy that you want to throw into that MVP conversation has done. This guy is 37 years old and he's dealing the way he is. And to me, Xander, the 40 or the Rams rather are the best team in the NFC right now. They are. I think that they are the number 1 team in the NFC. I don't care who the Eagles are. I don't care whoever else you want to throw in there is. The Seahawks might be right there with them, to be honest, but the Rams are to me the clear-cut best team in the NFC right now, and it's led by this guy Matthew Stafford, who at the ripe age of 39 has done 37 has done so much more than you could ever expect for a guy of his age. And you think back to week 1 where it looked like he might not even be playing the first couple games because of a back injury. And he comes out and just proves everybody wrong. He's thrown the 2 interceptions, and they were in back-to-back weeks versus the Titans and the Eagles, and he has not thrown one since week 3. Has not thrown an interception since week 3. I don't know how you can argue anybody else to be the MVP of the league right now. When it comes down to statistics alone.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare Drake May and Matthew Stafford, Stafford has more completions. He does have more attempts. Drake May has the better completion percentage. May is at 71.7, Stafford 67.1. May has more passing yards, just over 100 more. But May has also played in one more game than Stafford has. May is averaging 8.9 yards per attempt, Stafford 7.8. Stafford has 6 more passing touchdowns, 3 less interceptions, and May has been sacked 35 fucking times this season. Stafford 14. He's getting the ball out at will right now. He's not, when he does face pressure, he's still getting the ball out. He's not taking those sacks. And I mean, dude, he is just insane this season. The fact that he's, in my eyes, the leading MVP candidate at an age 37 year is ridiculous. And this man, mind you, has had incredible years in Detroit. He had Calvin Johnson as a receiver. Calvin almost had 2,000 receiving yards in one season. Who was the quarterback? Matthew Stafford. Cooper Kupp had probably the greatest receiving season of all time. Who was his quarterback? Matthew Stafford. This dude's a freaking baller, man. And the fact that his best season of his career is this season is just mind blowing. He is phenomenal. Like, there's just no other way to describe it.
Well, and then let's think back to just this matchup. Last time they faced the 49ers earlier this season, they lost in overtime 26-23. Obviously, some injuries have come upon the 49ers since then. But you walk into their home and you allow the same amount of points, but you score way more. Now you score 42 in this game against the San Francisco 49ers. You get your revenge. What is the NFC West standings look like right
It
now?
is Seahawks 7-2, Rams 7-2, 49ers 6-4, and then Cardinals 3-6.
Right. And the reason that the Seahawks are ahead, do they have a head-to-head, or they still play both games?
What was that?
The reason the Seahawks are ahead in the standings right now.
That's a good question. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I'm trying to see.
I think it's like a better win or better division win
They
percentage.
might have a better divisional record right now. But even so, I still think that they are the best team in the NFC West. I think they're the best team in the NFC. And they are the second of 4 true contenders for the Super Bowl this year.
I'm right there with you. Logan, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, get us started, buddy.
Yo, I think it's like watching the Rams. It's crazy how much trust Sean McVay has in Matt Stafford. They'll literally get to the 1 yard line and say, "Screw running the football, and we're just going to throw a freaking fade ball to either Devontae Adams or Puka Nacua." And the trust he has, and Matt Stafford is probably the most underrated QB in NFL history.
Yep.
He's a
Yep.
he's a easy NFL Hall of Famer, and just throwing the football like he's just a pure thrower of the football. The way he throws it, the arm angle, he's the creator of the no look pass. We saw it last week. He pulled that out. He's a gamer when it comes to the quarterback position. Obviously, he's 37 years old. It's a question how many more years he's got left, but he looks like he can play for another 4 or 5 years. Realistically, that probably won't happen. But John McVay has all the trust in the world, and he's in full control of this offense.
Now, you gave me a look when I said that Matthew Stafford is the clear runaway MVP favorite.
Well,
So
I say that because like I feel like the stats back it up. I feel like the play backs it up. But if you watch some of those games, there's 4 or 5 touchdowns of his where it's literally within the 2 or 3 yard line. They just I mean which I mean it still counts, but it's not like a 55-yard touchdown pass. It's not like he's fitting to see him across the middle, and it's not like it's a okay, they think they're going to stop the run. They think we're going to run it, so they're going to stack the box. And we got one-on-one on outside. We got Puka Nacua or Devontae Adams. I'm going to take that every day of the week. But because he's such a good thrower of the football, they're able to do that. So you can't really discredit him. But it is like, okay, I mean, there's like 4 or 5 of those I've seen this year.
Drake May's scoring inside the 5 yard line too. Like it's the same thing.
That's a very valid point. But
And that's also
I,
like discrediting Josh Allen for
my biggest thing though, bro, is the Rams were 10-7 last year, and they could have been better than that. The defense really stepped up late. Either way, the Patriots were 4 and fucking 13, bro. Like there's a difference to it.
I
yeah, and
think difference. I think
their
hold
entire
on.
draft, not
I
their
think
entire.
I think the main difference between these 2 seasons, obviously having that rookie year under his belt, helps a lot for Drake May to get him comfortable heading into year number 2. But I think the biggest difference, and we got to give this man his fucking flowers at this point, is
He's not the clear
Drake.
cut MVP though. He's not the clear cut
Hey,
MVP.
I want to say this. Mike Vrabel is the reason why the Patriots are so good this season. It is
Bro,
night and day.
dude, you guys sound like everyone who's like, oh,
We're not
Belichick's the
we're
reason
not
Brady
giving-
was
we're not
good.
discrediting
Belichick's the
flowers.
reason
We're
Brady.
not
No,
discrediting
Belichick's the
Drake
only
May.
reason the Patriots were good.
We've given the Patriots their flowers.
No,
I'm giving
Belichick was
Drake
not the
May
reason
his
the Patriots were
flowers.
good.
But you
Who
go out
the
and you
fuck mentioned Bill Belichick?
You're over here telling me
You're
Mike
saying
Vrabel is
last
the
season,
reason the Patriots
last
are
season Gerard Mayo
successful.
was
That's
ass.
not
Now you get Mike Vrabel,
part of
who's a
it.
proven head coach. Yeah, obviously you're gonna have a way better record. Coaching matters, man.
Yeah, well, not only
Yeah, it
that,
does.
you
But
spend
players
what?
matters.
You spend $200 million on the defense as well this past offseason. Like,
Yep.
it's not just Drake May. He has come a long way. His progression from year 1 to year 2 is very, it's insane. It's insane how far he's come. But you can't
Right.
discredit the fact that Mike Vrabel took over the 4-13 team and turned them around completely culture-wise, scheme-wise, and roster-wise. Honestly, he's the
So
driving force behind it. Guys want to play for him.
so Matt Stafford's the clear cut MVP this year.
Yes.
Drake May is the
that's
favorite to win NFL MVP right now.
which I don't understand in my opinion.
So how is he the clear cut? That's
I
like I
don't
get it if he's
understand
number
why
one, but
people-
clear cut
Very
favorite
similar
is
to
totally
Buffalo
different.
last year. Josh
Clear
Allen
cut favorite is
had-
crazy.
Josh Allen had lesser stats than Lamar Jackson, but he had a better record, more team.
But he wasn't the clear cut favorite.
Allen? No, he wasn't the clear cut favorite. But
So how are you telling me Matt Stafford's the clear
we're
cut
still
favorite
8
MVP
weeks
this
away from being at the end of the season. If you think about right now, Drake May doesn't.
Jonathan Taylor might be the actual MVP right now. So I don't.
Huh?
Jonathan
Daniel
Taylor
Jones,
could.
not after the last 2 games. Nope. Not
Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor.
Yes.
I don't. I love
Daniel
what
Jones
he's
would
done.
never been in my top 5 to begin with. He's. Dude,
I
you know what's
don't-
funny? You know that John Brown coach, the JUCO coach? Coach John Brown. Dude, he came out and tweeted something about Daniel Jones, praising him, calling him that. He's like, y'all effing retarded. If you don't think Daniel Jones is the MVP, he said that right before I think it was a London game or something, but the Colts were about to play, and he shit the bed, had like 5 turnovers. Can't remember what game it was. It was hilarious. It was
It was
karma.
probably the Steelers game.
Yeah, so it was that game. Yeah, literally right after he tweeted that. It was perfect.
That's
We have to think that the last year in the MVP conversation, Josh Allen didn't have the stats that Lamar Jackson did, but he had the team success. And Lamar Jackson and the Ravens team were several games behind where the Buffalo Bills were at that point. This year, Drake May and his team, Drake May doesn't have the stats that Matthew Stafford does. He has an 8-2 record, but Matthew Stafford has the stats that he does and is only 1 game behind right now. I think
Oh.
that that's something you have to consider in the MVP
Bro.
conversation. It's been so distorted over the last few years because the storyline of what defines and determines an MVP has changed so much every single year that we talk about this conversation.
Whoa.
But if we're basing it based off of last year,
Yeah.
if they finish with a better record, you give it to Drake May, as long as he keeps up the stats and the success that he's having. But if Matthew Stafford and the Rams find a way to only lose 1 or 2 more games at the end of this year, and he finishes with over 40 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and less than like 7 interceptions, I think you have to give it to him.
Well, you just told me that they just spent all this money on the defense, so it's not just Drake May. It's not just Matt Stafford. They got Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Kyron Williams, Byron Young, Braden Fisk,
I'll
Jared
put it to you
Verse,
this way:
like
you throw in Stetson Bennett, and you
same
know how
situation.
chance are the Rams 7-2. You throw in Stetson Bennett
Oh,
instead of
Stetson
Matthew
Bennett came
Stafford.
in and looked good.
I don't. It doesn't matter. You throw in Stetson Bennett for the entire game, no fucking chance are the Rams
No,
7-2 this season.
right.
They're probably
Yeah.
a 2 or 3 win team with Stetson Bennett.
Yeah,
Yes,
putting the backup QB for the Patriots, probably the same situation.
probably. But like I said, I think we're down to after 10 weeks, we have 3 clear-cut MVP front runners.
It's a 50-50. That's a better way to put it. It's a
There's
50-50.
3. I don't think it's
Not a
50.
clear cut.
I
Well,
think there's
here's another
3. Hold on,
thing
hold
to
on.
think
I'm
of.
not finished. I'm not finished. There is 3 MVP front runners right now. Number 1, Matthew Stafford, then Jonathan Taylor, then Drake May. You can have whatever order you want, but those are the 3 guys that are the
JT's my
clear-cut
number
MVP
one.
front runners. And I think it's going to be down to those 3 by the end of the season, barring any injury or major fuck up in a few games.
It's fluctuated all these, like the past 5 weeks. It's changed every week. It
Guys,
feels
here's
like.
another thing that we need to consider is the remaining schedule for these two teams. Take a look at the Patriots. They have got the easiest schedule the rest of the
Oh
season.
yeah,
They face the Jets, they face the Bengals, which they'll score, but can I see the Patriots being able to do whatever they want to that defense.
Joe Burrow's coming back soon.
Yep. They'll face the Giants. They face the Bills again. They face the Ravens, and then they face the Jets. Look at the Rams schedule. They face the Seahawks this week, then the Buccaneers, then the Panthers, then the Cardinals, then the Lions, and then the Seahawks again. So you're telling me that if Drake May, let's say they both win out. Let's say both these teams win out. I think you give it to Matthew Stafford based on strength of schedule and the stats that he's putting up.
I'm not gonna hate that, Nick.
We could not even be talking about either of these guys in like 4 or 5 more weeks, bro.
Exactly. The NFL changes drastically, but I think right now to me Matthew Stafford has had the better season and is more deserving of the award. I'm not taking away anything from Drake May. He's awesome. He's been great and he deserves to be in the conversation, but Matthew Stafford has had an unprecedented season.
No, I think and honestly, I'm putting JT at my number 2, just because the dude's over 1,100 rushing yards already. He's got 15 touchdowns on the ground, 2 more through the air. This dude's on track for almost a couple thousand rushing yards and 29 total touchdowns. NFL record for total touchdowns in a season belongs to LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006 with 31. So Jonathan Taylor's on track to fall just 2 of that. Taylor is on track to fall 60-ish rushing yards away from 2,000. The 2 MVP running backs that we have seen in the last 25 years, Adrian Peterson in 2012, when he fell just shy of 2,100 rushing yards, and then LaDainian Tomlinson in 2006, when he had that 31 total touchdowns. Or I believe he won MVP that year. No. Oof. Yeah, it was LaDainian Tomlinson. Okay, just had to verify real quick. But 31, like Jonathan Taylor's on track to fall just shy of 2,000 and then fall 2 shy of LT's touchdown record. We could very well make the case for Jonathan Taylor being number 1 in MVP ranking right now.
He's my number 1 right now, and I feel like the difference between him and LT's rushing touchdown record is, I mean, both are similar. They both kind of get force fed in the red zone. But JT, his ability to score touchdowns from like 60 plus, 50 plus, 40 plus yards is just unlike we've ever seen before.
Yeah, and the year LT won MVP, finished with 1,800 rushing yards and then 31 total touchdowns, 30 of those on the ground, mind you. Whoa.
I think he had 27 rushing.
Yeah, 27 rushing. Safari is geeking right now. It says 1 rushing and 1 receiving. What the fuck?
Yeah, is it Google AI or whatever it is?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'd never trust that.
But fact of the matter is, Jonathan Taylor's on track to have more rushing yards than LT did that year, and just 2 just 2 total touchdowns shy of that record. So, dare we even say Jonathan Taylor is more deserving of MVP than Matthew Stafford and Drake May this season.
I think it's a real conversation. I think you've got to talk about it, but you've also got to remember what the league is today, man, and how AP votes now. The MVP award has become a quarterback award, and there hasn't been a position, another skill position player, or any player for that matter outside of the quarterback position that has won the award since Adrian Peterson in 2012. And I don't see that changing this year. I think that the Associated Press is very comfortable just handing it out to the quarterback of the league's best team that year.
Well, what do you think about this though, Max and Xander? A case for Jonathan Taylor being the MVP could be he's been the one player consistently from week one that we've had in MVP talks. One
Yeah,
hasn't
he
came in
has.
and
He
out.
has been consistently in MVP talks.
Yeah, I mean, I want to look at the current odds right now,
He's plus 500 right now, I'm pretty sure.
and
I
that
think it
puts him.
goes Drake May, then it goes Drake May, then Matt Stafford, then LT. I mean JT.
Yeah, it's those three guys. It's gonna come down to
Then
those
it's
three.
Mahomes.
I don't agree with that one. I don't know why Mahomes is in
Oh,
MVP.
Mahomes is 500, I think, actually. Yeah.
I don't understand
I
that.
mean, I think you still put guys like Allen and uh
Lamar,
Ah,
even.
Lamar above
no.
Mahomes.
Lamar's been out with a hamstring injury.
Lamar
Yeah,
has the highest passer rating in the league right now.
Yeah, but he's been out for 3 weeks with a hamstring. He's played three less games than Mahomes. How could
Dude,
you say? And Mahomes has looked great this year, other than the Buffalo Bills game.
uh, so Lamar Jackson has played 6 games this season,
Oh,
almost
he's not.
1,300 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's insane, dude. And I
Yeah, no,
actually
he's
read
really good.
somewhere
But
that he has one of the highest quarterback ratings in the first 6 games of the season. There's 1999 Kurt Warner's ahead of him. Kurt Warner won MVP. I think '07 Brady's ahead of him. Brady won MVP, and then there's a couple other guys.
I put my double Y module on the fact that Lamar Jackson doesn't win MVP.
Oh no,
no,
I'm right there
he's
with
not
you.
going to. He's not going to. But I think that him, Allen, Sam Darnold, even maybe for that matter, deserve it
Oh, yep.
above Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I don't know about, but I don't know about those three all about Patrick, but I do agree Sam Darnold should be above Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, but that Seattle rushing game has really stepped up this year. I don't even know how many. I think Darnold only had to throw the ball like 14 times, something like that. It was crazy. It was ridiculous.
Yeah,
All right, boy.
Darnold currently sits with 2,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, 6 picks.
So we're gonna move on. We're gonna have 4 different segments. We're introducing new segments tonight. We're gonna kick things off. We're calling this the what if game. So I'm gonna start it off, and it pains me to say this, but I'd love for you guys to have your thoughts. What if the Steelers kept George Pickens to pair him alongside DK Metcalf this season? It was clear as day. Last night's game, you were truly missing that number 2 wideout. Outside of DK Metcalf, your number 2 guy is a tight end. It's Darnell Washington or Pat Fryermuth. You can't rely on Calvin Austin. You can't rely on Roman Wilson. And the Steelers play a bunch of 3 tight end heavy sets, mainly because there's no awesome or even above average wide receiver two on that team. So, had they not traded George Pickens, what do you think this team's ceiling is?
It's interesting to me that they even traded Pickens, and I wonder if it was more so the fact that he wanted out because he wasn't going to be the number one target anymore. But because we've seen the Steelers before the trade deadline look around for potential wide receiver twos. Um, Man, Pickens is having a great year in Dallas right now, despite their record. CeeDee Lamb goes out for a few weeks, and he instantly becomes the number one target and shows why. Um, I think having more options for Aaron Rodgers would have made his season a little bit better. Rodgers has been on kind of a downward slope the last few weeks, especially in this last game where he goes 161 for a touchdown and 2 interceptions. Um, but I think that there's a bigger problem in Pittsburgh right now, and it's more about the coaching
Mm.
than anything. Xander, you talk about it all the time, just how passive Mike Tomlin is and how almost content he is with finishing with a slightly above 500 record every year. He doesn't. It's like he doesn't want to be a premier team in the AFC, um, and I think that there's several organizations with a problem like that right now, but the Steelers are at the top of that list. And so the fact that they even traded away George Pickens, if George Pickens didn't state himself like, hey, I want to leave, then why the hell are you trading him? I think that you would have had a lethal receiving duo with those two there, and potentially George Pickens even being the number one between him and Metcalf. Um, it I really want to hear what you have to say about this because this is your team and you're a lot more informed. But to me, I think the Steelers are better with him there, and their record would show that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right there with you because Calvin Austin, don't get me wrong, I love the guy, but he's not your wide receiver too. He's more of a slot receiver. He's more of like that early Edelman kind of guy where you have him in the slot on a quick slant or a deep slant. And then you have Roman Wilson who was injured all rookie year. He's shown some flashes in the past few games, but not enough to be that wide receiver two guy. You trade for DK Metcalf because outside of Pickens last season, you're having the same issue. There's no wide receiver two on your team. So you trade for Metcalf. Now you make Pickens the wide receiver two, who would instantly become a top three wide receiver two in the league. And then you have DK Metcalf opposite side. That right there would have been one of the best receiving duos in the league outside of Chase and Higgins and Jettas and Addison, in my opinion. They could have had the potential to be top three. And now you also bring in Aaron Rodgers. Now Aaron Rodgers is looking to throw dimes to DK, throw dimes to Pickens. And then you trade Pickens away. And like Max said, I think it's more so because Pickens was getting a little bit too greedy, thinking he's going to be wide receiver one. Now you trade for DK. Now Pickens is thinking to himself, well, there goes my targets. Past few years, I've been barely getting the ball anyways with Kenny at QB, with Mitch at QB, with Mason at QB, with Russ at QB. So it's just, it's really freaking disappointing that he wanted out. And now look what he's doing with Dallas, man. I mean, he's a wide receiver two over there, but they're spreading or they're giving him the ball whenever he needs it. And he's proven that he can be that number one guy. And it just sucks because now we're heading into what, the fourth, fifth straight year of not having a fucking passing game. It blows, man. Logan?
Yeah, no, I feel like it's better for both parties that Pickens is in Dallas. I feel like he's better off in Dallas, and I feel like the Steelers are better off without him because I feel like if he was on the Steelers offense right now, he'd be a wreck, just like he was last year. That's pretty much how I feel.
I want you to elaborate more on him being a wreck.
Yeah, I want to because I don't think that the Steelers a are in a better position without him.
Yeah, I just don't feel like it works out. I just feel like his situation. I feel like he was done with Pittsburgh, and I don't think there was really any hope of him mentally pulling it together and wanting to stick it out there.
I mean,
Yeah.
with him being in Dallas, he's still the number two receiver. In Pittsburgh, I think he's got a better chance at being the number one. And honestly, I think he might have seen more targets. Xander, would you agree with that?
Uh, it's hard to say he would because you don't know whether he would or wouldn't, whether he would or wouldn't because DK's playing. Obviously, DK is only getting like three catches a game right now. Who knows what
Right,
Pickens is getting?
right, exactly.
So, but
So
I guarantee you, if he was on this team, our passing game would be a lot better than it is right now.
you'd hope so.
I know so. I like Calvin Austin doesn't really get that much separation, and Pickens
Right.
he really doesn't need separation because he's gonna come down with the ball regardless.
All right. What's our next topic of discussion?
Well, did you guys have anything for that one? The what if?
Well, I said what if, right? Would the what if was what if they kept Pickens, I said that they would be in a better position.
Yeah, did you guys have any what ifs of your own?
What if Buffalo traded for a wide receiver one?
Oh, I like it. I like
You
it.
know, what if Denver did something like that too? That was kind of mine. Like, I feel like there's some teams that should have went and got a piece of the deadline.
Yeah, there is a few teams that were reaching out for receivers at the deadline. Obviously, Steelers trying to trade for Shaheed and Myers couldn't get either of one. And then you got Broncos trying to trade for Jalen Waddle. Obviously, Dolphins wanted a first rounder this year, not next year. And then Buffalo with Brandon Bean. Buffalo, you don't really have a number one receiver over there, so you're trying to trade to get Allen, that number one guy, and you don't do it. And now this past Sunday, you only score 13 points. And yeah, Allen has over 300 passing yards, but even the passing game didn't really click against Miami. And that's a cause of concern because you don't have that number one wideout to get you over 100 receiving yards and a couple touchdowns for Allen. And then same thing with Denver. I mean, that offense fucking blows this season, man. You trade for Waddle, now you have Waddle and Sutton to help Bo Nix out. That offense would become really, really good, especially with that defense, man.
And Waddle is going to be a trade candidate at the end of this year. Once the new season or the new trade season, new season for the NFL hits in March, I think he will eventually be traded somewhere. We'll have to see where that is. Um, yeah, and I think Buffalo realizes how much they fucked up not getting a wide receiver one. Brandon Bean says he tried, but I think that he wasn't willing to give up much draft capital. To not trade your number one pick this year, and that's the only deciding factor. And not getting Waddle, that's a little bit disappointing to me. I think they
Yeah,
realized
they
they
should have.
I think they realized that they fucked up because they go out and they sign McCole Hardman today. They're just doing anything to try and make that wide receiver room better in some fashion. You have Gabe Davis on the practice squad too, so they're gonna be rotating guys in. And you wonder if either Gabe Davis or McCole Hardman are gonna start seeing time with the way that things are going. Keon Coleman was supposed to be your number one guy. He gets a touchdown this last game, but they straight up do not have like, he does not have the separation ability to be a number one wide receiver in this league.
Mm, I like it. We're gonna move on. This one's called Silent Killer. Each of us pick one underrated performance from this past Sunday. And Max, you were pretty eager to tell us who you were picking, so why don't you
Yeah.
start?
I don't think the player himself is underrated. We know what he's capable of, but I think just based on how the team's performance has been this year, this is notable because I don't think it gets talked about as much, and especially this game. It's Texans defensive end Daniil Hunter.
Fuck.
I knew it, bro. I knew someone
Damn
else
it.
was getting this one.
Yeah, I have the same one.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. Through what was it? 8 weeks, 9 weeks in the NFL, he had a two-sack game versus the Buccaneers, and then had a two-sack game versus the Titans. Other than that, he had nothing else to his resume. He was getting some tackles here and there. He went a few games where he had one tackle, three tackles, two tackles. In this past game versus the Jaguars, he's got 7 combined tackles, 3.5 sacks, and he forced a fumble. When you talk about defensive ends on the Texans, obviously his name comes up, but you're thinking Will Anderson. You're thinking Will Anderson's going to be the one to get in on that quarterback more often than not. No, Daniil Hunter was the star of that show for the Texans defense. They had to play from behind. They came from behind and won that game, and it was largely due to the impact of Daniil Hunter in that game. Now, can he continue it going forward? We'll have to see. I think he draws a lot of attention, but not enough from that Jaguars offensive line in this past game. Obviously, 3.5 sacks, and there was the argument that it should have counted as 4, but I think one of them definitely was a half sack. But we haven't talked about this guy all year. And here he is. He's showing up in a big divisional game. I think the part that makes this underrated is that their team is disappointing this year, which I will
Hmm.
get back to later.
What about you, Logan? Who do you have as an underrated performance?
Alex Pierce, bro. Alec Pierce.
Hmm.
All right, man. Receiver out of Cincinnati, white boy, stand up, represent. Dude, this guy is probably the most underrated deep threat in the league. Reminds me a lot of Rashid or Shaheed. Um, just the white boy. A little white boy magic. By the way, I'm watching this Eagles Packers game, and this Eagles punter sucks. Anyway, Alec Pierce, last 4 games, longest reception, 37 yards, 36 yards, 50 yards, 48 yards. This guy's getting completions down the field. And if you're watching this Colts offense, it's a lot of run, 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 play action, dump out in the flats to Tyler Warren, run, run, deep pass to Alec Pierce, run, run, play action, run, play action, Alec Pierce. Like it's so methodical, but it's so beautiful to watch this Indianapolis offense, and Alex Pierce is a big old focal point of it. Um, yeah, 7 targets, 4 receptions, 84 yards, a touchdown. He was impressive, and you can tell Daniel Jones trusts him.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that pick, man. So Max took mine. It was Daniil Hunter, but I'm gonna pivot. I had a backup option. This guy became the third player in franchise history to ever do this. This guy was a first round pick. Haven't really heard his name much, but in my opinion, this kid is improving every single season he's been in the league. He recorded 2 sacks in the season opener and has recorded only 1 sack since then until Sunday. And I'm talking about New York Jets end Will McDonald IV, who had 4 sacks against Cleveland on Sunday. Suddenly he's at 7 on the season, and this dude was freaking relentless against that Browns offensive line. He was getting in the backfield with ease. Sacked Dylan Gabriel 4 times, and only John Abraham back in 2001 and Mark Gastineau, who did it in 83 and 84, had accomplished 4 more sacks in a single game in Jets history. So Will McDonald, congratulations, just became the third Jets player in franchise history to record 4 sacks. Insane performance.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one we're calling this one the blame game, where we choose a disappointing team this season and decide who's most at fault. Is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? Is it the defense? Or is it injuries?
Yep. For me, I'm sticking with Houston. I think that they've had a very, very disappointing season based on what expectations were for them. Um, the defense is not a part of that, obviously. It's very similar to the Broncos situation, except they're on the opposite side of the 500 mark. The Texans have arguably the best defense in the league, and they've proved it week after week why that is. There's only a few games here where somebody scored over 30 points against them, and that was the Texans this past week. And or sorry, no, that I don't even think they had 30 points scored on them this year. They haven't. They haven't allowed 30 points in any game this year. Um, so their defense is doing well, but I think the offense has really struggled, and CJ Stroud's a part of that, but really it comes down to injuries. You lose Tank Dell at the end of last year, and he's gone for pretty much all of this year, and I doubt that they play him just because they want him to be healthy at the end of this season going into next year. So he won't be there. Nico Collins hasn't lived up to the expectations, and he's had some injuries here and there as well. Um, I also think the front office did CJ Stroud a misjustice by trading Stephon Diggs away or letting him walk rather. He goes to New England. He hasn't been a super huge player for them, but he's had his impact on games. And when you lose your number 2 wide receiver, arguably your number 1 in Tank Dell, I think you have to game plan for that early on ahead of the season. And when Stephon Diggs' contract is up, with no other when you don't really have the money to go out and sign other guys. Yes, Diggs was coming off an ACL injury, but he was ready for week 1. I think you offer him that deal. New England wasn't scared to give him that deal. Why don't you put Stephon Diggs on another 1-year deal and you have a secure number 2 that you know is going to at least give you something? Dalton Schultz hasn't been as crazy as he was last year, but he's a tight end. You're not scheming to throw to him every play like you are on passing plays with Nico Collins and Tank Dell. So I think it's a combination of injuries, offense and front office.
Yeah, man. Texans have been pretty disappointing this season. Obviously, the 4-5 record, but there's just no receiver help for CJ Stroud this season. But uh, like we mentioned, and like we mention every week, that defense is exceptional, and it's the reason why they have won those 4 games. So they just need the offense to start clicking. Get CJ Stroud, give him that rookie confidence he had, and things will start to turn around. But this season, it's more of last season, in my opinion.
Mhm.
So the team that I chose is the Washington Commanders, and why they stayed. Here's why they stand out. They're coming off of a 12-5 season and an NFC Championship appearance last season. So they entered 2025 with serious momentum and expectations. But instead, they've stumbled. Injuries, including Jaden Daniels a couple times, Terry McLaurin. They just lost almost to a broken fibia. So there's just so many injuries on this roster, and it's also an older roster with a lot less depth this season, and it's a noticeable drop in performance. But because they've had high expectations, the gap between what was anticipated and what's occurring is pretty big. And that's the hallmark of disappointment. And that's why I chose them. And who's at fault? I want to say the front office and a little bit of the roster construction. The GM and personnel decisions, they matter in the NFL. And in Washington's case, the critique is that they just didn't build enough depth or inject younger talent to maintain that momentum coming from last season. And then obviously, injuries have played such a horrible role in this Washington team. And look, yeah, injuries happen to everyone. They happen to every single NFL team, and you lose some key players here and there. But you lose your number one quarterback not once but twice this season, and that's a huge factor as to why the Commanders have been disappointing. So it's tough, man. It sucks to see how many injuries this Washington team has had, but this roster is just not good enough to compete. They're just too old and too slow. Logan, you're muted, bro.
Mine's the Atlanta Falcons. Offense coordinator. Holy smokes, this offense sucks. Like 0 for 8 on third down. Bijan Robinson, kid's a stud, might be top 3 running back in the NFL. And he's just as much a threat in the pass game as he is in the run game. And like you just see Tyler Algier out there majority of the time, it feels like in certain situations. And then like you can't rely on the pass game, so what do? You hand it off to Tyler Algier 6 times in a row and just trust his big ass to go get you a first down, which he can, and he does. But when you're running out of pistol majority of the time, you don't utilize play action. There's no creativity in the pass game. There's no downfield throws. It's just like, what do you expect out of your offense? It's pretty predictable. So, and that's what we've seen. And you know, the scoreboard of this game doesn't indicate how it was played. It was like a 17-16 game with like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, Atlanta offensive struggles continue.
Yeah, it's been pretty devastating to watch considering both of kind of all three of us had a little bit of high expectations. I know Max definitely did for this Atlanta team, and they're just not clicking at all. And it sucks, you want to see Michael Penix evolve into a stud quarterback, but this season is just not happening. He's just missing open guys, overthrowing them, underthrowing them. When he's facing pressure, he's taking those sacks or throwing out of bounds, making those costly mistakes, and it's just terrible. And what's even more terrible is Zach Robinson's play calling is just too predictable. It's remnants of Matt Canada in Atlanta and Raheem Morris, dude. You gotta have talks about him being fired. He's not a good coach, in my opinion.
Yeah, and just talk about how inconsistent they've been. We have been for the last few weeks. They almost beat they almost beat Indianapolis this week, and they looked good in on defense in that game, forcing what 3 turnovers in that game. 2 or 3
And
turnovers.
7 sacks.
Yeah, and 7 sacks. They looked good. It's just that offense has really, as Logan's doing right now, being put to sleep. They've put people to sleep. With the exception of Bijan Robinson and the occasional Drake London play here and there. Michael Penix hasn't blossomed the way that I thought he would. You're right, Raheem Morris, I won't even say he's a serviceable coach. I think that his play calling and his ability to lead a team is below par. And you can't have that on a team that's looking to win now. You have the pieces in place. You have a few spots that a few holes that you could go out and, get better pieces for. But this team realistically should at least be fighting for a wild card spot, in my opinion. And they're not. And I think it's mostly because of Raheem Morris.
Yeah. Raheem Morris and just the whole offense. All right, we're going to move on. The last segment of the night. It's called The Turning Point, where we pick a Week 10 win or loss that just changed the team's trajectory this season.
Yeah, I'll start, and I'm gonna keep it up in Western New York with Buffalo, man. We talked about just Josh Allen. When you have him, you never can count anybody out. You can't count the Buffalo Bills out. But to go down 2 games to the New England Patriots with the remaining schedule that they have, and then looking at Buffalo facing teams that maybe aren't the greatest, but they've got very good offenses against this defense, and defenses that I think if the Dolphins can stop you, they can stop you. It's very worrisome for Buffalo right now. You've got a really tough schedule ahead of you, all things considered. And without a number one guy, without a defense that can stop the run, without Josh Allen being able to be Josh Allen, how do you even move forward thinking about winning the division? You are fighting for a wild card spot, and I think ultimately that's where they'll end up. They'll find a way into the playoffs as they always do, but I don't think that they're going to go anywhere with it. I said that the Broncos were a team that might get bounced first round because of their offensive play. And with the exception of James Cook and the occasional Josh Allen superhero play, that offense has looked bad except for the Ravens and Chiefs game. I think that we've got a very serious problem up in Buffalo right now. And that loss to the Dolphins this last week, I think was one of the worst, maybe the worst loss for Josh Allen in his career, in the Buffalo team as a whole over the last few seasons and maybe all the way back to 2019. It's very disappointing to see as a Bills fan the direction that this team is going in right now, and I think that they're in a ton of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Logan?
Yeah, mine's the Baltimore Ravens. Favorable schedule coming up. They need to get this win against the Minnesota Vikings, a team that, you can't count down and out. I know we all had the Ravens win that game and covering. It's one of those games where you just had to go in there and handle business. If you wanted any hopes, you had to go in there and win and handle business. I said that handle business like 5 times, but they handled business to say it 6 times. And yeah, score reflects it. Defense, you'd like to see better in some moments. I know there were some mistakes by that Minnesota offense that really, um, took away some explosive play opportunities for Minnesota. But all in all, good game for the Baltimore Ravens. They needed that. These next 6 games could be a cakewalk, and they could be looking at 10-5 after a horrible start to the season.
Yeah, and I'm glad you actually picked the Ravens here because I'm gonna go into Inglewood, California. I think this loss just changed the trajectory of the season, and I didn't want to be biased, but it really has. I'm picking the Steelers here with that loss last night. That was Aaron Rodgers' worst performance of his career, and that is devastating to say. I mean, he had the third lowest completion percentage in his career, second lowest yards per completion or attempt, and then the lowest quarterback rating in his career, all last night. So it's starting to look like age is starting to catch up to him a little bit. He overthrew DK on a deep post route that was an easy touchdown. First play of the game, he had a really crappy throw to Warren that was somehow caught, and then that third down underthrew Austin, and then underthrew Austin later in the game. Should have been a first down. Instead, it was a pass breakup. Overthrew DK on a deep slant that was picked off, And then his second interception, not his fault, bounced off the hands of Calvin Austin into the arms of Dante Jackson. But I'm picking the Steelers here because now they're 5-4. They're only a game ahead of Baltimore in the AFC North. And you're looking at these two teams' schedules. Ravens, like Logan said, they have a cakewalk of a schedule, can easily become a 10-win team later on in the season. Whereas the Steelers, you look at their schedule, they got to play Cincinnati, who they already lost to. They have to play Buffalo. They have to play Miami, that just had a crazy good game against Buffalo. You still have to go into Detroit. You still have to play Baltimore twice, and you still have to play Cleveland in Cleveland. It's not looking good for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and this could very well be the first season. And I know we say this every year, and they somehow scrap to a 9-8 record, 10-7 record. But in this case, I genuinely believe this team could finish below 9-8. And this is just a terrible offense and a terrible defense. Yes, they force turnovers at times, but the defense is, we have the worst pass defense in the league, mediocre run defense. And then offense, we're one of the worst passing attacks, one of the worst rushing attacks, and somehow we're scoring over 20 points per game. I think we're at 23 points per game, and that's mainly because of those turnovers against New England and against Indianapolis, where we scored off of those 6 turnovers each game. But like, it's just really disappointing, and I think the Steelers had to go into Inglewood and get that win, have that comfortable 2-game lead in the North, and they didn't. They had the worst performance of the season. Now they're only a game ahead, and it's not looking good.
Yeah, and Xander, I'm just thinking back to last week when we talked about this upcoming game or at the time, upcoming game for the Steelers on Sunday Night Football against the Chargers. And you said the with the offensive line problems of the Chargers, the defensive line for the Steelers should have ate. They should have been able to.
They kind of did. They've had 12 pressures. They sacked Herbert 5 times. They made him limp a few times. The defense wasn't the issue. It was more so the offense. He only scored 10 points, and 7 of those 10 points came with under 3 minutes of play. It was just a really shitty offensive outing.
And you're right, the offense was a huge problem, but I think anytime that you give up the 25 points and you don't come anywhere near it, obviously offensive problems, but I think that the defense probably should have been able to force more ill-advised throws from Justin Herbert that result in turnovers and give them more chances to get on the field and score.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was just a disappointing effort, man. So, not looking good as a Steelers fan, but what else do you
There with you, buddy. Fuck you, Logan.
Yeah, fucking Patriots. All right, boys, that's going to wrap it up in this episode of In the Pocket Podcast. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will be back running this shit up Thursday where we give our picks and predictions. I have sucked this year, and Logan is a freaking dog. I don't like it, and I'm definitely not catching up, but that's okay.